Welcome back to Plant Built Wellness. I'm your host, Christy,
And I'm your co-host, Samara.
and today we're talking about body composition and how to recomp your body. This is
Yes.
part 2 of episode 3. So, episode 3 was about strength training for healthy aging, and we promised you,
Yes.
ladies, that we would come back to a few topics that we just didn't have time to talk about. And Samara is going to provide us with her wisdom on this
No.
topic, given all of her experience. And of course, I'm going to chime in with questions and knowledge that I have as we go through the episode. But now I'll hand it off to Samara.
Hello, ladies. I am so excited to be back on this topic today. Episode 3 was a really powerful episode. We introduced the benefits of strength training and how that affects your aging. Strength training has a really positive impact on aging. And if you will recall, in episode 3, we talked about topic 1, which was metabolic efficiency. If you haven't watched episode 3, go back and do that before watching this episode and follow us for the part 3 that'll be coming up next. All right. Yeah. So, what are we talking about today? Body recomp and body composition. Now, those two sound very similar. So, they're both important when it comes to your journey. And these are actually topics I'm really passionate about because this is the way that I completely transform my genetic body shape. I might have mentioned this in one of the first episodes, but I was not born with a great genetic body shape. I was born with an apple shaped body. I was told when I was growing up that I was just stuck with this. This is my genetics. I can't change it. And I, for most of my adolescence, hated my body because
Mm.
I had this weird apple shaped body where I held a lot of weight up top, had no lower body curves, didn't have the booty. I know all my ladies will understand that. I didn't have the hourglass that I really wanted. And I was told it just wasn't physically possible because of my genetics. So this really is what made me fall in love with strength training, with weightlifting in the gym. I was so against weightlifting when I first started. And when I realized that picking up weights and using them in my workouts was going to be able to completely change the shape of my body, it became an addiction, healthy addiction here. Of course, now I do it for the health benefits, right, Christy?
Oh, yes, for sure. There's so many benefits for it
Mm.
and about it. We've talked about several of them already, but I don't think there's really anything negative about strength training.
Strength training only has positive benefits, honestly, especially if you're doing it correctly. We're going to talk about what is body composition, essentially. That's the first part. And then we're going to talk about recomping your body, which is changing your body composition as I did. What
Mm.
does body composition mean? Body composition means the different weights that you could have on your body and what tissue that weight is made up of. So when you hop on the scale, you get your body weight, right? And your body weight is not just fat. It's not just bones. It's actually several different things. Scale is going to be reading your total weight, which is composed of bones, tissues, organs, your body fat, and your muscle. Those are the main things that the scale is reading. Then altogether, that equals your body weight. And this is one of the reasons why I really do not like using the scale for
I was
progress.
going to say,
Yes, I know Christy's with me on this. She understands the power of measuring your progress outside the scale, right?
yes.
Yeah. When you're on the scale and you get that number on the scale, you just think, oh, the number, is it high or is it low? And you compare that number to whatever society has said you should weigh, maybe your BMI. And if you're doing that, please don't, because that's not healthy. So
We
yeah,
have to
because
get into some of
we
these
will
things
talk
that you're
about that.
saying. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
we will talk about that. Yes, when you hop on the
Taking
scale,
notes.
you want to understand that the scale is made up of different types of weight. Obviously, there's a few types of weight that are adding up in your total body weight that are not going to change. Things like your bones and your organs. Very unlikely that's going to change during your life, okay? Very, very unlikely. Your bone
So can
density,
I ask you something for your
yeah,
bones though? As you get older,
it can. Your bone density can decrease. But
right?
it's not gonna be by lot, Christy. Like there's,
Ah,
the average person bones is like 7 to 8 pounds. 7 to 9 pounds is the average range. And
okay,
when you get older and you lose muscle, your bone density goes with your muscle. It's gonna be a couple
okay.
pounds, right? That's big in the scheme of things, right?
No,
So
no.
your bone density and your organs are not gonna change by much, right? There's three types of weight that will change. I actually didn't mention one of these in the beginning, so I'm gonna mention it now. And that is going to be body fat, muscle, and water. You do have quite a bit of water weight, right? Those three things will change. Some of those things will change slowly, and some of them will change quickly. And this is where people freak out when they see the scale move quickly.
Mm,
If the scale moves quickly, if you see pounds, like I'm talking 2, 3, 4, 5 pound difference in a day or a couple days, 99.9% chance that is water weight
right.
because muscle does not build that fast. and fat typically does not come off that fast. You would have to burn 3,500 calories or be in a 3,500 calorie deficit for 1 pound of fat to come off your
Woo,
body. So
woo.
1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. The idea that you would lose or gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds of fat in one day is absurd. It's water
Right.
weight, especially for us women. Chrissy can second this. Our water weight changes so much, especially in our cycle too. If you're in your follicular phase, which is the first half of your cycle, you are going to be holding less water. If you are in your luteal phase, which is the second half of your cycle, you are going to be holding more water. I know that every woman is different, but I will throw my number out there as much as I hate this number, but I used to weigh myself on my period. I don't weigh myself at all anymore, but I used
Oh.
to weigh myself on my period and I would freak out because my scale would go up sometimes 8 to 10 pounds on my period.
Woo.
And that was because of water weight. I
Yes.
typically hold a lot of water on my cycle. It's just been something that's been pretty consistent in my journey for a long time. Now, the fitter I get, the less it happens. But that
And
is
what
something, 5 to
Sorry,
10
Samara.
pounds. Go
Sorry to
ahead.
interrupt you. So for us menopausal ladies, we don't have to
Yes.
worry about any of this stuff anymore as it relates to our period and the water weight around that. So yay, score
Yes.
one for us. Sorry,
So
please go ahead,
you don't
Samara.
have to worry about the drastic changes because you don't have the period after menopause.
Right.
However, Christy, you still are a woman, and
Yeah,
as women, our water weight changes drastically from other things too, not just your
of
cycle.
course.
So our water weight can drastically change from stress,
Yep,
from dehydration,
of course.
from sweating out a lot, like anything like that, right? So you want to be really careful. Where am I getting with this body composition? Your body composition in terms of what we're talking about today. We're talking about fat versus muscle. Water weight's going to change, ladies. Don't try to control your water weight. Of course, stay hydrated. And if you stay hydrated and you stay active, you are less likely to have drastic changes in your water weight. Obviously, outside of your cycle, the cycle will change it, right? But outside of that, we are talking about body fat versus muscle. These two things are going to have weight. A pound is a pound. A pound of muscle, a pound of fat, they still weigh a pound on the scale. However, they look completely different on your body and they take up less space on your body. That is a big one right there.
Mm,
So, muscle takes up about 17% less space than fat. So, there's a
mm.
pretty big difference when you're looking at your body. I can look at a woman who is 135 pounds, another woman who's 135 pounds. Let's say one of them has more body fat, one of them has more muscle. They're not going to look the same at all, even though they're the same exact weight. Yeah.
I know. Isn't that interesting? Like that for so many years, we've just been taught what is the number on the scale. And even
Right.
today, now, when you go to the doctor's office, like they make you get on the scale. And I know there's certain reasons for that outside
Right.
of, what how much fat muscle do you have and stuff like that. But it's been so ingrained in us
Yes.
that wait, why am I weighing more now that I have this really great fitness plan? Well, geez, it could be muscle, which is a
Yes.
good thing. Yeah.
Thank you for getting to that, Christy. I was getting there. Thank
Let's
you.
jump the gun.
I knew you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, yeah.
All right, yes, like Christy was saying, when you gain weight, especially if you've been strength training, if you've been eating your food and your protein, and you've been living healthy habits, you've been getting your sleep and focusing on your recovery, you're going to gain muscle in your journey. And that is not a bad thing. This is one of the reasons why I don't recommend with my clients and myself, I don't focus on the scale. We can weigh ourselves just to know where we're at. If you have a lot of weight to lose in the beginning, it is okay to use a scale for progress because if you have a lot of weight to lose or a big weight change that you want to see, then yeah, keeping track of that is fine. However, if your focus is to get leaner, to get muscle definition, to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, then your body recomping. And that would be something you don't want to use a scale for, as it's not going to show you that. Like I can lose 2 pounds of fat and gain 2 pounds of muscle, and the scale is going to say the same, right?
Mhm,
Because I
mhm,
traded two for two. So
mhm.
that's why we don't use a scale. I have my clients use measurements, progress journals where we keep track of their how they fit in their clothes, how they look in the mirror, how they feel, their energy levels, their strength, right? All of these things are great indicators of progress. When you're thinking about your body composition, you have to keep in mind your goal. Ladies, if your goal is to gain strength, if your goal is to have lean, defined muscles or any kind of definition at all, let's say you want to see some definition on your stomach, let's say you want shapely arms, let's say
Mm,
you want to build a booty like I did, then chances are in your journey, you might gain weight. It's
yes.
depending on where your starting point is. I'm actually quite a bit heavier now than I was in the beginning of my journey. And I'm very happy about that because I was able to build my hourglass. I built my glutes. I went from 20-inch glutes to 45-inch glutes. That was a
Oh,
lot. Yeah, a lot of mass went on my glutes. So of course, that comes with weight, right? I am not attached to a number on the scale. As long as I have the shape I want, I can fit in the clothes I want to fit into. I feel good. I'm healthy. I have energy and I have strength. That's what I focus on.
clothes don't
Always,
lie, Samara, right? Like
yes.
clothes, I mean, like, hello, things don't shrink in the dryer like just miraculously. If they're
Yeah.
too tight, there might be telling you that hey, maybe there's time for some recomp that needs to be done, right? And
Well, they
so,
could also become too tight because you're gaining muscle. So that's not, that wouldn't be a bad thing. For instance,
thank you for sharing that because I always thought like it would still lean you out if you had muscle, so your clothes might not be tight. But you're
it really
saying,
depends on your starting point. Christy,
ah,
it really depends on your starting point. If you have a lot of body fat to lose and you're also gaining muscle, chances are your clothing size is going to go down, but your weight will probably go up. Depending. If you have a lot of weight to lose, then maybe the weight and this clothing size is going to go down because muscle takes up less space than fat. And
sure,
if you have a lot of fat, then it's going to come off in weight. It's going to come off in circumference, right?
okay.
Now, but for instance, in my position, so when I first started my journey, I was a size large in tops because I've always had big, I hold my fat up top and I've always had big chest. And so I was already a size large in tops, but I was actually a size one in jeans because I had
Woo!
no butt. I had no butt, nothing.
Ah,
My pant pockets, my jean pockets were on my legs. That's how little of
interesting.
curves. Yes. And after building a booty and recomping, I now wear a size 6 in jeans and I actually went down to a medium in tops because I lost fat on my upper body, but I
Got
gained
it.
mass on my lower body. I gained glutes.
Oh,
I gained when you build your booty, the legs come with it. So my quads got bigger, my glutes got bigger. I could definitely never fit in the ones, twos, pairs of jeans
okay,
I
I
had before.
misunderstood you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I clarified because maybe some of the ladies out there needed a little clarification.
Well,
So,
this is a big misconception is how do you
yes,
track your
myth.
progress? Yes, how do you track your progress? Don't rely on the scale, ladies. And also, I mean, yes, take note of your pant size, your clothing size, but also keep your goals in mind. And the first few years of my journey, I was obsessing over the number on the scale, and I actually didn't make the progress I wanted to make in my first 3 years because I would not let that number on the scale go up. I would not
Oh,
eat enough to build that muscle. And so I was working really hard and I'm like, why am I not building the curves? And then
oh man.
someone taught me that, hey, if you want those curves, you actually have to eat to feed them. And that's when
And
the
that's
scale
fun.
started going up. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Like, this is just fascinating. So I apologize for interrupting you, but hopefully I'm
It's okay.
helping answer questions for some of the ladies. Okay, so I have a question around that because
Yes.
especially as we get older, like myself.
Right.
So perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. So there's periods in our life where we want to eat, make sure we're eating enough, especially
Oh, yes.
because of the changes our body's going through, right?
Yes.
So
Your hormones.
and we'll have to have another topic purely around another episode purely around menopause and
Hmm.
peri post because I know that especially in these stages you need a lot more protein and fiber,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
than you
Well,
do as versus being younger, even though when
true.
you're younger it's important too, but yes.
Most women need more protein and fiber than they're getting. Let's put it that way. I mean, I think that's actually a
Fair.
necessity at any age. But
Yes.
yes, as we get older in our society, women don't tend to focus on that, and they should be. When you're going through, like Christy was saying, perimenopause, menopause. Christy's been through menopause. I'm in perimenopause right now, and it really does make a difference on your hormones, how you're eating. If you're not getting enough protein and fiber, your hormones are going to change in a different way, and they're not. It's not going to be pleasant, ladies. You're going to have a lot of unpleasant symptoms. And then also, as
No
your hormones
joke.
change, yeah, as your hormones change, you're losing muscle. After the age of 30, we talk about that you're losing muscle regularly every year. And the more your hormones change through perimenopause and menopause, the more muscle you're going to lose, right? So if you're not eating enough protein, if you're not eating enough food, a lot of women your age, Chrissy, are not eating enough food, and
Yeah.
especially if they're working out, right? So if you're
Right.
not eating enough protein, enough food, enough fiber, then you're going to expedite that muscle loss. You're going to make it worse. And
Mm.
then you're going to have even more unpleasant symptoms from the hormonal changes, right? So
Mhm.
muscle is the tissue of longevity, the tissue of vitality, the tissue of health. So this is what body composition is, ladies. What I wanted to go over was teach you what body composition means. Literally means the composition of your body, what your body is holding as weight. So the two things that we're talking about are muscle and fat, because obviously water is going to change day to day. Bones and organs are not going to change drastically throughout your life. If you keep muscle on your body, your bones will not get smaller as much as they would if you didn't have muscle. Now I want to talk about body recomp, which I've been addressing a little bit based on my own story. we can do this amazing process in our journey called body recomposition. Technically, you can try to do this at any point of your journey. I will say it's easier at some points than it is at others, so I'm going to make that note. So, the definition of body recomp is that you are trying to trade fat for muscle. You're
Mm,
not trying to lose weight. You're not trying to gain weight. Actually, when you're doing body recomp properly, the number on the scale usually stays the same or close to it. And you're eating around maintenance calories, maybe a teeny bit over, a teeny bit under, depending on your goal, but you're eating right around maintenance and your scale weight is not changing a lot. What's happening though is you're building muscle and you're losing fat. That is the definition of body recomp. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I made the mistake in the beginning of my journey, not taking advantage of the first year when I started lifting, not taking advantage of doing body recomp. There's two situations in your journey, scenarios where body recomp is going to be easiest and most productive. You will get the most out of it. The first one, and it will always be this one, is when you are in the beginning of your journey, when you are new to lifting. Ladies, in the first year of lifting, you can gain substantial muscle compared to every year after that. It's going to be so much easier for you to gain muscle in the first year of lifting. Your results, your progress is going to be, revved up. And so
huh,
this is the year to take advantage of body recomp. This is the year when you're first, when you first start lifting. If you don't have a lot of weight to lose, even if you do, start with this because when you build the muscle, tightens the skin, and it's less likely to have loose skin from losing fat, right? So I wish I would have done this. My first year of lifting, I was very inconsistent. I was on and
mm,
off in the gym. I was not focusing on my nutrition at all, so I definitely wasn't getting my protein in. And because of that, I did not get my max results I could with body recomp. Now,
okay.
there is one other scenario where you can body recomp and get similar, not quite as good, but similar results. And I did take advantage of this actually recently in the last it was in 2021 and 2022 where I took advantage of this. The second scenario where you can body recomp quite easily is if you are in a detrained phase. So by detrained, I mean
Huh,
you've taken some time out of the gym. So maybe you've lifted before, but you stopped for a couple of years or you stopped for a couple of months and you are out of shape when it comes to strength training. Then
okay.
you go back in the gym, you have another little opportunity to get what we call those newbie gains, right? So I did this after COVID. And this is why, looking back at COVID, when COVID first happened, it was my first time since I started lifting that I didn't have access to a gym for 9 months. I did not have any equipment or any room to work out, and I thought it was the end of my journey. I was like, "This is going to screw me over completely. This is going to ruin my journey. It's going to ruin my career." I was so upset when COVID happened. Now I look back on it as like the best blessing ever because I was out of the gym for 9 months. I did not lift weights for 9 months. I tried to do band workouts at home. It did not go well. I did not have the space or the proper equipment. And I was also just depressed during COVID because who wasn't? I was
Yeah.
jobless. So I was depressed. So 9 months later, I returned in 2021 to the gym. And from 2021 to 2022, that first year back, I built massive amounts of muscle compared to the
Woo!
years. Yeah, compared to the amount of muscle I would build per year prior to that. And I was 10 years into my journey, ladies. So the way that I was able to do that was being detrained. And actually, that led to me having the leanest, fittest, and most muscular shape of my journey in 2023. I'm going to pop a picture in right here so you guys can see. This was really a rewarding process for me to see that I could body recomp, I could get that muscle in that speed that I didn't take advantage of in the beginning of the journey. It was almost like a second chance for me, which I really loved it. So if you are new to lifting and if you have maybe lifted strength train, resistance train in the past, and now you've taken a break and now you're coming back, do not waste this opportunity, ladies. This is where you will
No.
build quite a bit of muscle. It's also where your metabolism is going to get that biggest boost. Your metabolism is going to grow pretty rapidly as the muscle grows, right?
And I will say, Samara, for me, the same thing happened when I really got serious about
Mhm.
lifting weights. And I want to say that was probably, wow, right around the same period that you had that like second off in your training career, if you will. I drastically saw such a boost of muscle
Yep.
and then decrease in fat. And my
Yeah.
metabolism was through the roof. I mean, I would eat breakfast and I am not lying. Like 20 minutes later, I'm like, I'm hungry. And I
Mhm.
mean, you know the type of breakfast I can eat. It's a lot.
Yep.
I totally agree with you. I didn't know it was called that. Detraining is what it's called. Is that right?
You were in a detrain period during
A
that time that
detrain
you were,
period.
yeah, a detrain phase of your journey. If you had previously lifted before and then you got out of
I
shape and then you
did.
returned to it.
Yeah. It
And
was the
some
more
people,
serious time of lifting for
yeah,
me though. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And some people take little detrain periods, like mini ones, regularly. I know some
Oh,
bodybuilders, some athletes who will take like a week off every now and then just to give their muscles a break. And
Yeah.
it's not going to create the substantial results that it would when you took a year off. But it
Okay.
does give your muscles a little bit of break. And then when you come back, the muscles are in a situation where they can perform a little better because they've had some time off. And so then
Uh,
they get, yeah, they get like a little boost in performance.
Vacation for your muscles. It's like, so when you go on vacation, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do strength training if it's a short period, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean you have to go all crazy with the food and stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it does depend on how you do that. Now, if you go on vacation and you take time out of the gym and you're eating really unhealthy and you're sedentary,
Yeah.
you're probably going to feel like crap and getting back
Yeah.
into the gym is going to be really hard.
Right.
I personally work out on vacation just because it actually working out daily makes me feel more energized, but then I end up
Yes.
enjoying my vacation more, right?
Agree.
If I'm
Agree.
sedentary for more than a day or two, I'm miserable.
Yes. Hear you. I hear you.
Yes, I choose to be active on my vacations, but I do really prioritize rest nowadays more so than in the beginning of my journey. Christy, I know you know about this. I did the typical thing in the first couple of years of my journey where I never prioritized recovery. And we probably should have
Mm.
an entire episode on recovery because it is that
Okay.
important.
Making a note.
Your rest days are just as important as
Mm-hmm.
your training days. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So body recomp is the process of trading fat for muscle. Essentially, you are eating around maintenance, you are lifting heavy, you're challenging yourself, you're doing progressive overload, and your scale weight is probably not going to change that much if you're doing body recomp correctly. You're going to lose fat and build muscle, hopefully at that rate where it's pretty even. Now, you can take that logic of body recomp anytime in your journey and kind of put it toward a deficit or a surplus. So this is actually what I do. I don't do large deficits and surpluses anymore. I used to do those bulking and cutting
Oh.
phases. I found
Mm.
those miserable, to be honest. They are necessary for certain sports. If you're going to get on a bodybuilding stage, or if you are a competitive athlete, you might need to do real bulks and cuts and all of that. I personally found those truly miserable. And when you're in a huge deficit, a cut, you're essentially starving. You're always hungry. You're miserable. Your
Ugh,
energy's low.
yuck.
Your workout suck.
Ugh.
Yes. And then honestly, the bulking was worse. I had to do this to build my booty. I spent years in a surplus actually for building my booty. And I will tell you, ladies, it was really hard. I was eating until I was sick to my stomach because
Ah.
of the amount of food that I had to eat to get in to match the level of training I was doing. I don't regret it now because it gave me the results I wanted, but I will say it was miserable. So nowadays, and I'm lucky to be able to do this now that I'm this far in my journey. And actually, like I was saying in the beginning, the further you get in your journey, the harder it is to body recomp, right?
Mhm.
That's not really something
Mhm.
that's going to work well for you. Can do it, but it's going to be very, very, very slow. So the further
Mhm.
you get, the more seasoned you are, the more consistent later on in your journey. I do what I call just like leaning and building phases where I'm just slightly in a deficit for leaning out phases and I'm slightly in a surplus for building phases. I'm not
Mm.
drastically. And everyone should do what is right for their goals. I'm not saying what I do is right for everyone. And like I said, if you're an
Okay.
athlete, you might need to do something, you might need to do the big bulks and cuts. But for
Sure.
me, I'm not getting on the stage right now and I'm just trying to fine tune and maintain the progress I've made and fine tune it, make more progress steadily over time. So for me, if I'm like in the winter, I usually choose the winter because who doesn't want to eat more in the winter when it's cold? So in the winter, I bump up just a tiny surplus. I'm talking about like 50 to 200 calories max
Okay.
above my maintenance. That's my
Okay.
tiny surplus. And in the summer, right now, I'm in a leaning out phase. I'm eating about 150 calories less than
Okay.
maintenance. So, and I am losing body fat. I've noticed in the last 2 weeks, I do not track the pounds, but I've noticed quite a bit of fat loss in the last few weeks. And so that's how I do that. And it's really enjoyable. Also, while we're on this topic, I will say my advice to women. And I'm saying this to women because your hormones are directly impacted. We will have an episode on this. Your hormones are directly impacted by how much you eat. So when
Mm.
you hang out in a cut for too long in a deficit, especially a big deficit, your hormones are going to get impacted.
Mm.
And also in a big bulk, they'll get impacted a little bit too.
Huh.
We do not want to put our hormones in more of an imbalance than we will have to.
No.
So
No.
when I create a deficit, which is the process of losing body fat, you have to be in a deficit. You have, in order to lose fat, you have to be in a deficit. A deficit means you're either eating less than you're burning or you're burning more than you're eating, right? So there's two ways to do it.
Sure.
So this is what I'm talking about for us women. If you want your hormones to stay as balanced as possible and you want to be as happy as possible during your leaning out or your cut, try to create at least part of your deficit with movement versus all with food. So what a lot of women do is they say, "Oh, I want to go in a deficit. I'm going to eat 500 calories less than I'm eating now." Someone will say, "I want to go in a deficit. I'm going to do a deficit of a pretty standard one is 500 calories less than I'm eating." You could do that, and if you have a lot of weight to lose, you might need to do that, right? But if you don't have, 50, 100 pounds to lose, you put yourself in a 500-calorie deficit. It might be okay. It might be tolerable for a while, but over time, the longer you're in that deficit, and I will say, ladies, do not spend too long in a deficit. Your hormones are going to get impacted, your energy levels, your strength, all of that. So what I would do is if I needed to get a 500-calorie deficit, I would maybe take 200 calories max from food, and the other 300 calories, I would burn that. I would move more. So
So when
personally,
you
the
say move like a walk, like a brisk walk in your zone
anything that
2?
burns calories. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not saying go do endless amounts of cardio. Please don't do
I know, I
that.
was gonna say, I
Yeah.
mean, who has time for that?
Well, that's also going to elevate your cortisol if you're doing a lot of high
Right.
intensity cardio.
No
So
hit. Don't add hit.
I'm just, I'm just saying move more. It's called your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Okay.
Your NEAT is all of the calories you burn outside of the workouts. So this is,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you can burn calories by walking more, just going on more walks.
Gardening?
Take your,
Could you be
yeah,
gardening?
any activity. You could
Physical
be
activity? Okay.
cleaning your house.
Cleaning your
I
house.
recently I recently rescued another dog. I'll tell you, my vacuuming has gone from once a day to twice a day, sometimes 3 times.
That sounds so fun.
It is so fun. Hey, it gets my steps in. I'm not going to complain, Christy.
Hey, no, you can't. You can't complain about that.
Right. So it could be housework. It could be gardening, like Christy said. It could be hiking. It could be swimming. It could be walk. I don't care. I would not recommend you make it high intensity cardio. And by that,
Right.
I mean, I would not do running, a lot of running. I would not do HIIT at all, ideally for
Ugh.
us women. I would do the best cardio for fat loss, as we've talked about before, is LISS, low intensity, steady state cardio. Something that it's getting your heart rate in a zone 2 or 3, which we talked about that in the last episode if you want to
That's
check out
right.
that episode. Getting your heart rate in a zone 2 or 3 and being there for an extended period of time. 15,
Okay.
20, 30, 45 minutes. That would be the range.
Okay.
Max 60 minutes, but it all depends on your needs. So
Right.
when I go into a leaning out phase like I'm doing right now, I've actually increased my steps. I'm doing about 2 to 5,000 more steps a day right now. And I am eating a little bit less, but like I said, about 150 calories less. That's it. The other part of my deficit, which is probably about 200 calories, is my movement. I'm not tracking it exactly the numbers right now because I really like to do things as naturally as possible at this point in my journey. If you're in the beginning of your journey, tracking is really important for you to
Yep.
learn and be aware of what you're eating, aware of what you're burning. Obviously, calorie burning trackers are very inaccurate, so please don't trust those. But you can generalize. You can generalize
But
it,
but
right?
you can use like an Apple Watch for your fitness activity
You
or a
can. The
Fitbit, things
calories
like that.
burned are, yeah, the calories burned are still not 100% accurate, but they're generalizations, so go off of them
They're
because
helpful, right?
they're helpful. They're helpful. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
helpful.
and then like for the nutrition tracking, sorry, I want if
That
ladies
is
don't
more
know this.
exact.
That is so like my fitness pal, would you say is maybe
I
an option?
absolutely hate MyFitnessPal, so I'm not gonna
Oh,
say
you
that.
do? Oh my
That's my
gosh. So what do
that's
you use?
my
This is new for
least
me.
favorite that's my least favorite tracking app. I
Okay,
use
well then share.
MyFitnessPal. Yeah, I will. I use MyFitnessPal for almost a decade. I will never use it again. You guys
Oh
can
my
use my
goodness.
if you like MyFitnessPal, no shame, use it. I don't care. It is a
It
tracking app.
helps it helps for tracking, but what do you
It
recommend?
does. I personally just don't like the way MyFitnessPal runs. My favorite one is called Chronometer.
I'm writing this
So,
down.
yeah, a Chronometer. And so, yeah, that tracking app, the reason I like Chronometer is because it tracks micros and macros in depth. So you literally will be able to get down to all of your micronutrients with Chronometer. You will be able to track every
Holy
vitamin,
cow.
every mineral. Yeah. So it's more health based, honestly, in my opinion.
Yes.
It supports health more. And I also just like I like the look of it too. There's two tracking apps that I just like the look of more and I like the user friendliness of them more. I don't find MyFitnessPal that user friendly. I find it very generic too. And I
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
hate that when you go into MyFitnessPal and you do not use MyFitnessPal to set your goals. MyFitnessPal will tell me to eat 1,200 calories a day. I would die.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, do not use MyFitnessPal
Can I ask
to
you
set your
too,
goals.
Samara?
Yeah.
So you were saying like the Apple Watch, Fitbit, things like that, they're not 100% accurate. But
On
is there a
calorie
better
burn.
option?
On calorie burn. I'm only saying on calorie burn.
Sorry, calorie
Yeah.
burn. I might have said the wrong thing. Sorry. But what's a better option then? What's a better
For
option?
tracking calorie burn, it's
Yes.
calorie burn is always going to be an estimate. It's like it literally is it's an equation.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the way that your Apple Watch or whatever they track your calorie burn, it's your weight, your age, your movement. It's a calculation. It's always going to be a. This is why I don't focus on calorie burn. I like to focus on steps and I like to focus on time that my heart rate is in zone 2 and 3. So that's what I do.
No.
So I track my steps. I shoot for 10,000 steps a day minimum on my walking pad or outside. And then I track time in zone 2 to 3 cardio for my cardio. I don't really care how much calories it burns, I just know that it creates results because I've seen it happen in my body. So
Sure.
for me, I try to stay in zone 2 and 3 for 30 to 45 minutes a day. That's my personal goal.
I
I will
see.
go up to 60 sometimes, depending on what my goals are. When I was at the leanest point in my journey, I was on the Stairmaster for 60 minutes a day.
Full information.
Yeah, thank you. So I just don't want you ladies to think I'm telling you to go do endless amounts of cardio. Please don't do that. Yes,
Please.
do cardio because cardio is good for your cardiovascular health, but it should be
Just
low intensity.
move,
Yes.
like,
Yep.
move, like, that's the best thing you could do than sitting on the couch. Yes,
Yes.
we wanna relax. Yes, there's time for that. There's a place for
Yes.
that. Absolutely. You don't wanna go, go, go.
Right.
But movement is great, and I don't wanna diverge. I feel like we need to have an episode on all these tracking devices, like the Aura Ring, like, I
Okay.
don't wanna go down
We
a
can
rabbit
do
hole.
that.
But yeah, but let's
We
think
could do
about
a
that.
tracking device episode. But yes, Christy, to answer your question, the two tracking apps that I would use for tracking my calories would be between Chronometer and another one called LifeSum. I've used both of those and I really like them. I like the user friendliness. I like the visual. I like the visuals of them, the layouts, the design. I also do like what they track. They go a little deeper into the health statistics than they do just macros and calories. So you get the micronutrients, you get all of that. And I find that the data is a little bit more accurate too in some of those because my FitnessPal, it's been around the longest, so it has the biggest library. But I
Mm,
will say I found so many things in my FitnessPal that have been put in there wrong, like brands of things. It's kind of just a
oh,
mess. And
no.
again, like I said, I do not like when people use my FitnessPal to set their goals. Never use it. I
Okay.
honestly, I don't ever use any of the tracking apps to determine my goal. I just use
Mm,
them to track my food, right?
mm,
So you can go to I think there's another one. There's not an app. There is a website called tdee.net or .com, and this is how you can go and calculate your total daily energy expenditure. That's how much energy you're spending with your workouts and your basal metabolic rate, your basic metabolism.
yep,
And
I've
that will
heard of that.
tell you how much, yeah, that will tell you how much you're burning on average a day. And from there, it will help you determine your goal. But even with that, I don't use it entirely because, like I said, I do not want to take all of my deficit from food. I find that when I eat that low, I'm miserable. So I take part of my deficit from food and I take the rest of it and put it into my movement. And that is the healthier way to go, in my opinion, as long as you're not overdoing cardio and you're not doing the high intensity cardio.
Okay,
Did you
wonderful.
have did you have any other questions, Christy?
No, I mean, I just I no. Did you see me taking notes? I'm, like, scribbling down here 'cause
I
I
saw.
love these. I love this because I know quite a bit, but yet I'm constantly learning because
Well, we all
Samara's
have to
like
be
I mean,
constantly learning.
it's great to constantly learn, right? But I wanna ask you, like, I feel like we've reached at a great point of providing ladies with some really helpful, valuable
Yeah,
information. Were there any parting thoughts before I close this out?
yeah. So, ladies, today we went over what body composition is and what body recomp is. And the importance of this is that this is what's going to happen when you're strength training in your journey. And so, essentially, the gist of this is when you start strength training, you're building muscle. Ultimately, the more muscle you build, the less fat you're going to have on your body, unless you're eating crazy surpluses, because muscle will increase your metabolism over time. So, the more muscle you have, the faster the metabolism, the less body fat you are likely to have. Again, you still need to be eating right. But that is why I wanted to go over body recomp and body composition just so you know what it is and you know that this is one of the main benefits from strength training in
Yep.
our talk of strength training for healthy aging. This is what I've enjoyed most about strength training when it comes to physical benefits is that I have been able to change my genetic given shape was an apple and now it's an hourglass. I feel confident
Beautiful.
on all my clothes. That's one cool thing about creating the shape that you want through body composition changes is even when I'm sitting on the heavier side, there have been times in my journey because we all have times in life where we get a little off, and there have been times in my journey where I'm heavier than I want to be. And I will tell you, I'm still confident in my body. And that's because I still have my hourglass because the muscle I built is still there. As long as I train
Agree.
it, as long as I feed it, it's still there. So this
That's
is
right.
the importance of body composition and understanding this when you start strength training before or after you start strength training. Just understanding what this means is super important. And this is not taught to us in schools. I did not learn this at all growing up. So I just want to make
No,
sure that we're teaching women, what these things are.
and how do you can and you hit the nail on the head, Samara, like
Right.
gaining confidence, right? Like I feel
Confidence.
like it has helped me learn, going through the journey of strength training and trying to
Yeah.
build more muscle, losing fat, and really taking care of myself through good nutrition, etc.
Yeah.
I do feel more confident in the gym, going into that weight room where all the guys
Yeah.
are. Used to never want to touch that area of the gym. I hated it. Now I'm kind of like, whatevs, it's you just proud. Like just having the courage to do that and set that as a goal
Yeah,
is that's phenomenal. I mean, half the
it
battle
is.
is like getting through the door of the gym,
Yeah.
right? Like in making an effort. I think that we should recognize the ladies for
Yes.
doing that and just you keep building confidence as you go along your journey. It's a matter of trying. It's not being perfect. It's
Yes.
trying, it's putting some effort into it, even if it's baby
Yes.
steps. That's what it's about. And I'd love to just close this out right now and say thank you,
Yeah.
ladies, for joining us. This has been a fabulous episode. Samara, like I said, I got notes beyond notes, and I'm super excited for our next episode 6. Oh my goodness, episode 6.
Right?
I have down that we're going to talk about one of my most interesting topics that I can't wait to hear and learn more about. But fat and hormones, right? We touched upon this.
Yes.
I'd love to expand on the conversation of fat and hormones. And I know that's probably going to filter into the menopause, perimenopause,
Yes.
postmenopause topic, which we might not be able to finish it all in our next
No.
episode, but certainly it will be a great start.
Yes.
So I want to say thank you again for joining us. It was a pleasure. I'm your host, Christy. I just want to remind you to please like us,
Yes.
subscribe. We would
Yes.
love that if you would join us here on the platform, Spotify, YouTube, etc. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.